everyone, it's Eala here. I can't wait to play in front of all the fans at the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open this February. Make sure to get your tickets and I hope to see you soon.
I got time on my mind. Nowhere else, no, Lord, take me downtown.
Scandal rocks tennis world. Eala exposes illegal racket technology after devastating Auckland defeat as Australian Open drama unfolds. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Champions Tennisitics, your #1 source for the rawest, most unfiltered tennis news on the planet. If you thought the drama down under was just about who lifts the trophy, you need to think again, because what we're about to reveal will shake the very foundations of professional tennis. We are waking up to what might be the single biggest equipment controversy in the modern era of the Women's Tennis Association. And trust me, this story has everything: heartbreak, allegations of technological cheating, secret investigations, and a young superstar who refused to stay silent when she knew something wasn't right. We are talking about Alexandra Eala, the 20-year-old sensation from the Philippines who has captured hearts around the world with her tenacity and skill. We are talking about Xinyu Wang, the Chinese powerhouse whose racket may have been hiding a secret that could change everything we know about fair competition. And we are talking about a match that was supposed to be a simple semi-final showdown, but has turned into what some are calling a crime scene of technological warfare. The tennis world is absolutely reeling right now. Message boards are on fire. Social media is exploding with accusations and counter-accusations. And at the center of it all stands Alex Eala, wiping away tears but refusing to back down from what she witnessed on that court in Auckland. You saw the scoreline when it flashed across your screen. You saw the heartbreak etched on Eala's face as she fought through nearly 3 hours of brutal tennis. But what you didn't see, what nobody was talking about until now, is what was hiding in plain sight during that entire match. This isn't just about a devastating loss in a semifinal. This isn't just about a young player's dreams being crushed at the final hurdle. This is about a potential cover-up that goes all the way to the top of the tennis establishment, involving equipment manufacturers, tournament officials, and possibly even the governing bodies that are supposed to protect the integrity of our sport. Today, we are going deep into this story, deeper than anyone else has dared to go. We have exclusive details on the explosive accusation that Alex Eala made just moments after wiping tears from her eyes in that Auckland locker room. We have the technical breakdown of the so-called secret weapon that Xinyu Wang is accused of wielding like some kind of tennis cyborg. We have insider information about the investigation that has now pulled in the World Anti-Doping Agency and the International Tennis Federation's Technical Committee. And because the show must go on and champions don't dwell on controversy, we're also going to look at how Eala is channeling all of this rage, all of this injustice, into her preparation for her first ever Australian Open main draw match against the heavy-hitting American firepower of Alicia Parks. Buckle up, tennis fans, because this is the story they didn't want you to hear. This is the scandal that could change professional tennis forever. This is Champions Tennisitics bringing you the unvarnished truth. Let's rewind to the scene of the crime. And yes, I'm calling it a crime scene because that's exactly what it may turn out to be. We're talking about the ASB Classic semifinals in Auckland, New Zealand. The date was January 10th, 2026. The atmosphere inside the stadium was absolutely electric. The kind of energy that only comes when you know you're about to witness something special. You had Alexandra Eala, the 20-year-old pride of the Philippines, playing quite possibly the best tennis of her entire life. She had just guaranteed her spot in the Australian Open main draw thanks to her ranking rise, a massive achievement in itself, and now she was hunting for her second WTA Tour final appearance. This was her moment. This was supposed to be her breakthrough. Across the net stood China's Xinyu Wang, the 7th seed in the tournament, a player known throughout the tour for her flat, penetrating ground strokes that seemed to cut through the air like lasers. On paper, this matchup looked like an absolute blockbuster, and for nearly 3 hours of play, it looked like a gladiatorial battle worthy of ancient Rome. Eala was absolutely everywhere on that court. She was painting the lines with precision that defied belief. Her lefty forehand was finding angles that seemed to defy the laws of geometry itself. The commentators were running out of superlatives to describe what they were watching. Then came the moment that seemed to define Eala's fighting spirit. She found herself down 1-5 in the first set, staring down the barrel of a blowout, facing a deficit that would have broken lesser players. But this is Alex Eala we're talking about. This is a champion in the making. She didn't just fight back. She staged one of the most miraculous comebacks you'll ever see in a first set, rattling off 6 consecutive games to take the set 7-5. It was the kind of grit that separates the good players from the great ones, the kind of mental fortitude that makes champions. Fans in the stadium were on their feet. Social media was exploding with praise for this incredible display of determination. But then, something started to change. Things started to get weird, and I mean really weird. Viewers watching on television began to notice it first, posting comments on social media about the unusual power Wong was generating. Commentators started whispering about it during the broadcast, their voices taking on a confused tone as they tried to explain what they were seeing. Every single time Eala seemed to have Wong pinned in a corner, every time the Filipino star had her opponent on the defensive and scrambling, Wong would somehow produce a shot with an absolutely inexplicable amount of velocity from what should have been a purely defensive position. We're not just talking about a player finding an extra gear through adrenaline or determination. We're talking about shots that seem to violate the basic laws of physics that govern this sport. In the second set, Eala surged ahead to lead 5-3. She was serving for the match. She had a match point, just one single swing away from victory, one shot away from the final, and all the glory that comes with it. And then Wong unleashed a series of forehands that didn't just land inside the lines. They absolutely exploded off the court surface with a velocity that seemed impossible given the defensive positions she was hitting from. Balls that should have been routine returns were suddenly screaming past Eala before she could even react. It was like watching someone flip a switch and suddenly activate a superpower. The sound coming off Wong's racket was different too, and this is crucial. Multiple people in the stadium noticed it, and you can hear it clearly if you go back and watch the footage with the volume turned up. There was this sharp, metallic ping echoing through the arena every time Wong made contact, a sound that was distinctly different from the normal thud of a tennis ball hitting strings and frame. Eala noticed it too. If you watch carefully during the changeovers, you can see her glancing repeatedly at Wong's equipment, her eyes narrowing with suspicion, her mind clearly racing to process what she was experiencing out there. The comeback from Wong was absolutely brutal to witness if you were an Eala fan. Wong took the second set 7-5, erasing Eala's match point and her lead in one devastating surge of power. Then in the third set, Eala fought tooth and nail to lead 5-4, once again on the brink of victory, once again so close she could taste it. But Wong rallied from that deficit to win 6-4, completing a comeback that on paper looks heroic but now appears to be something much more sinister. Eala walked off that court utterly devastated. Her post-match Instagram post captured the raw emotion. So close yet so far. But behind closed doors, away from the cameras and the congratulatory press conference that Wong was giving, the sadness that Eala felt was rapidly transforming into something else entirely. It was transforming into suspicion, into anger, into a burning need for answers. This wasn't just about choking under pressure. This wasn't about nerves getting the better of a young player. In Eala's mind, based on everything she had experienced during those 3 hours on court, this was about an uneven playing field. The Filipino star didn't just lose a tennis match. She felt she had been out-engineered by technology that shouldn't even exist in competitive play. For several days after that match, the tennis world moved on as it always does. Commentators and analysts praised the semifinal as an instant classic, talking about the drama and the shot-making and the incredible mental strength shown by both players. But silence breeds speculation, and Alex Eala was about to break that silence with the force of a tsunami crashing into an unsuspecting coastline. In a move that has absolutely stunned the WTA establishment and sent shockwaves through the entire professional tennis community, Eala officially appealed the match result to the tournament organizers. But she wasn't just citing the health issues she had been battling through during the match, though those were significant. She was alleging something far more sinister, something that could shake the sport to its core. "I know what I felt out there," Eala reportedly told her team in a private conversation that has since been leaked to insiders close to the situation, and this quote has been circulating like wildfire through tennis circles. "The ball was coming back faster than I was hitting it, even on what should have been simple block shots. That's not natural. That's not humanly possible. That's technology doing the work." Then came the public statement that literally stopped the presses and forced every major tennis publication to scramble their coverage. Eala made a formal accusation that Sinyu Wang had been using a racket equipped with what she described as a power-enhancing kinetic dampening system, a piece of technology that is allegedly in a secret testing phase with a major equipment manufacturer and, most crucially, has absolutely not been approved for WTA competition by any governing body. Let that sink in for a moment. We're talking about prototype technology being used in official competition without clearance. She used a racket with power-enhancing technology that is being secretly tested and hasn't been approved by the WTA. Eala stated in her formal complaint, her words chosen carefully but landing like bombs in the tennis world. She asked the organizers to reconsider the decision, effectively requesting that her opponent be defaulted and the match result overturned. This is absolutely unprecedented in modern professional tennis. We've seen accusations of doping, of course, with players being suspended for testing positive for banned substances. We've seen illegal coaching scandals where players have been penalized for receiving instructions during matches. We've seen bathroom break controversies where players have been accused of disrupting their opponent's rhythm through gamesmanship. But an illegal racket? A piece of equipment that fundamentally alters the physics of the game? This brings us all the way back to the 1970s and the infamous spaghetti string scandal. For those too young to remember, spaghetti strings were a revolutionary stringing pattern developed in the 70s that generated so much spin and power that the governing bodies had no choice but to ban them because they fundamentally changed the nature of tennis. What Eala is alleging here is potentially even more serious. She's claiming that Wang's racket frame contains prototype materials, possibly involving what engineers call a piezoelectric core, which is a material that can stiffen on impact to return approximately 20% more energy to the ball than a standard graphite frame would. If this accusation is true, and I want to emphasize that if because investigations are still ongoing, then Sinyu Wang wasn't just playing The reaction to Eala's accusation was immediate and absolutely explosive. According to multiple sources, Eala's coach was seen in a heated exchange with tournament officials immediately following the formal complaint, demanding that Wang's racket be impounded and sent for immediate forensic testing. The accusation was so specific, with Eala's team referencing secret testing programs and unapproved prototype materials, that it forced the governing bodies to take immediate action. They couldn't just brush this under the rug and hope it would go away. Sources close to the investigation have confirmed to Champions Tennisitics that the World Anti-Doping Agency, which usually focuses exclusively on biological doping through performance-enhancing drugs, has launched a joint investigation with the International Tennis Federation's Technical Committee. Now, you might be asking yourself why WADA would get involved in an equipment dispute. The answer is fascinating and deeply concerning. The accusation implies a breach of what WADA calls the spirit of sport, a clause in their code that allows them to investigate any method or device that fundamentally alters the human element of competition, even if it's technological rather than pharmaceutical. If a racket can do the work that skill and training are supposed to do, it's considered just as much of a violation as taking a banned substance. The preliminary results of this investigation, according to leaked reports that have reached our sources, have absolutely shocked the tennis world. Forensic scans of the racket frame that was confiscated from Wang's equipment bag have allegedly revealed significant inconsistencies in the carbon fiber layup, which is the arrangement of carbon sheets that gives modern rackets their strength and flexibility. Specifically, the scans showed microcavities within the frame structure that were filled with what materials scientists call a non-Newtonian fluid. For those unfamiliar with the term, a non-Newtonian fluid is a substance that changes its viscosity based on the stress applied to it. In this case, the fluid in Wang's racket allegedly solidifies under the stress of high-impact collisions with the ball. We cannot ignore or underestimate the impact that Alexandra Eala is having back in her home country. The Eala effect is absolutely real and measurable. In an interview she gave upon arriving in Melbourne, Eala spoke with remarkable candor and humility about the shifting landscape of sports in the Philippines, a country that has traditionally been absolutely obsessed with basketball to the exclusion of almost everything else. Well, yeah, that's the reality. Eala said when asked directly about tennis competing for attention in her basketball-crazy nation. When back home, tennis is not one of the biggest sports in the running, I would say. Hopefully that's changing. And it is changing, right before our eyes. Eala went on to share some genuinely heartwarming anecdotes about the impact she's seeing in her own family and community back in Manila. It always makes me happy when I come home and my cousins will tell me, like, oh, it's so hard to get a court now. So those are good signs. Think about what that means for a moment. Public tennis courts in Manila that used to sit empty for hours are now fully booked because young girls and boys, inspired by watching Eala compete on the world stage, want to pick up a racket and see if they can be the next Filipino tennis star. She is doing for tennis in the Philippines exactly what Manny Pacquiao did for boxing when he rose from poverty to become one of the greatest fighters of all time and a national hero. She is giving an entire generation a role model, someone who looks like them and comes from their country, proving that they too can compete at the highest levels of international sport. I think people just in the Philippines, we just have to make the first step. Eala added with that characteristic humble smile that somehow manages to hide a killer instinct that emerges when she crosses the white lines. I think we're making some good steps, yeah. She's being modest, as she always is. But the reality is that she's not just making good steps. She's leading a revolution in Philippine sports, potentially changing the athletic culture of an entire nation. And she's doing it while still just 20 years old. Eala also confirmed some exciting news for her home fans. She said that if she doesn't make a deep run into the second week of the Australian Open, which we genuinely hope she does, because we think she's capable of it, she will return to Manila to play in the Philippine Women's Open as a wildcard entry. That is a genuine superstar move right there. Despite competing on the world stage, despite the opportunities to play bigger tournaments in other countries that would give her more ranking points and prize money, she's committed to returning to her roots, playing in front of her home fans, giving back to the local tennis community, and helping to grow the game from the ground up in her own country. That's the kind of character and commitment to something bigger than yourself that transcends sports. Now let's talk business, because the Australian Open draw has been released, and it is absolutely spicy. Eala has been handed what can only be described as a tough but winnable first-round assignment. She will face American power player Alicia Parks in a match scheduled for Sunday, January 18th. This matchup is a classic clash of contrasting styles that is practically destined to produce highlights that will be played on loop on tennis shows for weeks. On one side, you have Alicia Parks, an American player who is known throughout the tour for essentially one thing above all else: pure, absolutely unadulterated power. Parks holds the record for the fastest serve in United States Open history at 129 miles per hour, a mark that ties her with the legendary Venus Williams. When Parks is firing on all cylinders, when her timing is perfect and her confidence is high, she literally takes the racket out of your hands. She hits clean winners from positions that would force most players to just try to get the ball back in play. She can serve you off the court. She can hit forehand winners from 3 feet behind the baseline that you have no chance of reaching. But here is precisely why Eala fans should feel genuinely optimistic about this matchup despite the obvious dangers. Alicia Parks is an incredibly volatile player, and volatility in tennis cuts both ways. She can absolutely hit 10 aces in a single set and make you look foolish. But she can also hit 10 double faults in a set and beat herself before you even have to do anything special. She is the very definition of a high-risk, high-reward player. When her power game is working, she's nearly unbeatable. But when it's off even slightly, when the timing is just a fraction late or the toss is a bit inconsistent, the errors pile up faster than you can count them. She makes a lot of unforced errors trying to end points too quickly, and that tendency only gets worse when she's feeling pressure. And if there is one single thing that Eala excels at more than almost anything else, it's consistency, intelligent counterpunching, and pure tennis IQ. Eala doesn't beat herself. She forces you to beat her by executing repeatedly under pressure. She moves better than Parks across the court, covering more ground and getting to balls that other players would give up on. If Eala can successfully extend the rallies past 4 or 5 shots, if she can use her superior court coverage to get just one more ball back and force Parks to hit one additional shot, when Parks is expecting to have already hit a winner, those errors will absolutely come. Parks will start overhitting. She'll start going for too much. and that's when Eala can pounce. Eala also has a significant tactical weapon that could prove decisive in this matchup. She's a lefty, and that left-handed serve is going to be crucial. That classic lefty serve out wide to the Park's backhand, the one that pulls her off the court and opens up the entire opposite side, is going to be a key pattern that Eala will look to exploit repeatedly. Park's backhand is solid when she has time to set up, but it's not a weapon the way her forehand is. If Eala can consistently hit that serve with good pace and placement, forcing Parks to hit backhand returns from way outside the court, she can control a lot of the service games and make Parks uncomfortable. As we count down to Sunday's match between Eala and Parks, the tennis world is watching with intense interest. This is more than just another first-round match at a Grand Slam. It's a statement game for Eala, a chance to prove that she can handle adversity and come back stronger. It's a test of whether the mental toll of the Auckland controversy will weigh her down or whether she can channel it into motivation. It's an opportunity for her to show that she belongs on the big stage and can compete with powerful players who will be projected to beat her on paper. For Parks, it's also a crucial match. She's trying to recapture the form that made her one of the most promising young Americans a couple of years ago. She's trying to prove that she can be consistent enough to make deep runs at majors rather than just pulling off occasional upsets. She needs a confidence-building run in Melbourne to set up her entire season. Neither player can afford to look past this match to potential future rounds. Both know that Grand Slam dreams often live or die in the first round, where nerves are highest and where one bad day can end your tournament before it really begins. The contrast in their backgrounds also adds an interesting dimension. Parks grew up in the American tennis system, with access to elite facilities and coaching from a young age. She played on the USTA junior circuit, which is one of the most competitive development systems in the world.
Alex, after a terrific year last year, how does it feel to be making your main draw debut at Melbourne?
It feels great. I'm super excited. Coming